So how many of you have ever told someone, hey, check out my podcast? And they're like, what's a podcast? I'm sure you've heard that before. So there's some other people that have like an active dislike of podcasts. I don't understand them. But Amy is here to tell us how to convert those people to be your biggest fans. Let's give it up for Amy Woods.
Okay, and please raise your hand if you know anybody who doesn't listen to podcasts. Okay, so we've all got friends, family who are a little bit in the dark ages when it comes. Maybe they don't even know what a podcast is. But did you know that everyone in here most likely listens to podcasts every day, but we are in the minority? So 66% of adults in the US do not listen to podcasts. So you might be thinking, well, so what? But I want you to think about, why do you have a podcast? So is it to raise awareness, to help people, to grow your business, maybe to make people laugh? Whatever that reason is, most likely what's really important is to have impact. So you want to have as big as impact as you can to reach as many people and to influence as many people as you can. So I'm going to talk to you about some ways that you can try and reach the 66%. So whatever your podcast is, I want you to forget about that for now. And I want you to think about having a homebrew podcast. So you teach people how to make beer. It's probably the best beer-making podcast in the world. Okay. And I want you to meet Barry. So Barry is somebody who would really, really benefit from your podcast. But he is one of the 66%. He doesn't listen, they're not on his radar, he doesn't listen to podcasts. Maybe he doesn't even know what one is. But he's an accountant by day and he's a hobby home brewer at night. And he would really benefit from your podcast. And he's having this problem with brewing a batch of IPA. And you've just done a podcast episode that will solve all of his problems, that if he was to listen to it, he would fall in love with you. He'd solve all his problems, he'd completely fall in love with you. And what does he do instead? So he wakes up in the morning and before he's even gotten out of bed, he's on Instagram. Does anyone else do that? I do. So he's on Instagram, he's looking for someone to help him with this IPA problem, and he doesn't find you. So what could you do? So why not jump on IGTV? It's brand new, you could do short videos talking about your podcast, and then Barry might just find you, you'd solve this problem, he'd fall in love with you, and maybe he would start listening to your podcast. But that didn't happen. So then he gets to work, and like any model employee, the first thing that he does is goes on Google and tries to solve this beer problem that he has. And he does a text-based search, and you're a podcast, so he doesn't find you. So how could you find Barry on Google? So you could write a blog post, a long-form blog post, research the keywords, and then Barry may just find you. You solve all of his problems, he completely falls in love with you, and he starts listening to your podcast. But that didn't happen. So then he goes to YouTube, and it's his lunch break, he's looking for some video help now, he goes to YouTube. Again, he doesn't find you because you're a podcast. Why would you be on YouTube? Or how could you reach Barry on YouTube? So how about video recording yourself whilst you're doing your podcast? You could create maybe some highlight video, or the whole podcast could go on YouTube. And then Barry could find you, and then you would solve this IPA problem that's really starting to piss him off now, basically. And then he's walking home from work now, and he goes on Twitter. And he's, again, like really, really, really trying to solve this problem. And he doesn't find you because you're a podcast. Why would you be on Twitter? So what could you do? So why not every week when you go live, host a Twitter chat? And you could claim a hashtag that would be relevant the same day and time every week. And then Barry could get involved. He solves his problems. He completely falls in love with you and starts listening to your podcast. And there's loads and loads of other places that Barry could have gone: Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Medium, but you weren't in many of those places because you're a podcast. Barry doesn't even know what podcasts are, so he didn't find you. So the result was a terrible. Has anyone had bad beer before? You may be able to sympathise with Barry and all of his friends. So a disaster. Well, there's an epilogue to this tale of beer sadness, which is that 2/3 of your potential audience will never hear your voice if you do not have a strategy to repurpose your podcast content into different formats, to go into different places, so that the 66% that don't even listen to podcasts you can reach them and you can have that impact. So the idea I want to spark in everyone is to just think of different ways that you can try and reach the 66%. So to conclude, I'm just a girl stood in front of a room full of podcasters asking you to find your Barry and get him to fall in love with you.